Hello and welcome to Billy Ho Sports. We are heading over to Sunland Park, New Mexico. It's their most important prep for the Kentucky Derby, obviously, Sunland Derby. It is contested on the main track, going a mile and a 16th. Not a super impressive field, but there are a few horses I haven't seen in a while and new ones that will be interesting. So, just a FYI, check out the playlist. I got like a Derby Trail playlist and then a regular thoroughbred horse racing playlist that you can go to. And normally I'll put all the Derby videos in both, but the non-Derby Trail and Derby videos, Triple Crown and all that will be in the main thoroughbred one. So you can find anything you need horse racing wise there. And so we got 20 valuable Derby points going to the winner of this one. So we're going to get into it in just a second, but just a reminder to subscribe to the channel. Much appreciated. I need to get all the subs that I can get to help out Billy Ho, keep the show free, all that good stuff. Notification bell so you don't miss out. Hit that like button too while you're at it. And give me your pick for the Sunland Derby in the comment section, and let's go. A field of 8 is going to load up this Saturday in New Mexico. And I'm going to be bouncing around out of order today because specifically the Riley Allison Derby at Sunland Park on January 19th has 4 of the 8 contenders in it. So I'm going to lump those together so we can cover them all out of this race. But first up, we have number 1, No Trouble, trained by Joel Marr. World of Trouble, 3-year-old, broke his maiden comfortably in his last sprinting race at Sunland. He now faces his route and stakes debut. One of the higher rated jockeys, Ken Tohill, has a pretty talented contender. The combo with him and Marr won this race with Wild on Ice last year. Rest in peace. So moving on to number 2, Surrounded by Angels, out of Smiling Tiger Colt, trained by Bart Hone. Riley Allison Derby, this Cali bred bay broke out to the lead, going a mile, but was not able to maintain, hit the turn in the stretch ride and just kind of weakened up. And for a distant third place finish, would need a big improvement here to compete, I do believe. Number 7, Durango, ran 4th in this very same race. He was very poor. You could, if you saw from the break, that he was in the back of the pack, had no speed, cut below any contenders here. So I'm passing on that one. A Lot of Luck is number 6, Sir Prancelot Gelding, trained by Ty Garrett. Debut victory at Zia Park, then showed the way in the Riley Allison, as you saw, for much of the way, and held the lead pretty good into the stretch, but got out kicked late by Lucky Jeremy. So Oscar Sabalos retains the mount, so he's a definite contender. Next up is that very same horse, Lucky Jeremy, the victor of the Riley Allison Derby, trained by Bill Morey. Looking at Lucky Colt, demonstrated good early speed and doesn't need the lead to win either. So nice, perfect pressing style, I think, for Sunland. So I like this one so far. Jockey, one of the top jockeys, if not number 1, Christian Ramos, guiding him. So he's definitely a must-use contender. Probably underneath, because we're going to get to some of the bigger dogs here in a minute. Number 3 is Curlin Chaos, trained by Antonio Garcia, made the switch to turf to get this maiden win at Santa Anita, going wide around the final turn. Huge closing burst down this stretch on the grass to get that win. So I will be interested to see how well this dirt to turf, back to dirt, works out for him. Maybe it improves his chances. Probably going to need all the help he can get against a couple of the later ones here. Blinkers being removed, jockey Diego Herrera aboard. So could provide some value in exotics, I think. I like the way those turf horses get down like that in the stretch. So number 5 is Stronghold, one of your top contenders, uh, and one to beat maybe. Closing out his juvenile campaign, had a tough runner-up finish in the Los Alamitos. Futurity, if you remember back then, that was Winstock. Kind of surprised everybody at 13-1, going wire to wire. I really was high on Stronghold in that race. And rewatching it, as I always like rewatching these races, it's always good to see you catch stuff you didn't catch the first time around. He rated just behind the leader, had the inside move into the stretch, and then those two just started colliding back and forth like magnets. You know, they flip the magnet and they touch, and then they turn around and they press away, kind of like that. But then there was a steward's inquiry, but the stewards held that both horses contributed to the contact. So Winstock held up. But it was an excellent race, and I thought that Stronghold did everything right. So you can't complain about that. Uh, Without that contact, may have won. Who knows? But he is trained by Philip D'Amato, who I like a lot. Son of Ghost Sapper, excellent sire. Has consistently placed in all his appearances, and Antonio Frigiu is getting the mount. All that looks good. If you wanted to single it, you could in your pick 3s and 4s. But I would most likely go deep with our next contender. So we're going to jump up to that. Lastly, we have the number 8 Informed Patriot. Consistent contender for Steve Asmussen barn. A good third place finish in the Smarty Jones. And I'll touch on that in my final analysis. So be sure to stick around for a few more minutes. He had the inside rail coming home, and he looked like if he was able to squeeze through, could have won that race. But you had Lagainos, the number 3 horse, next to him, squeezed him up on the rail. He had to kind of, I don't know if you want to call it checking up, but he couldn't get through. And then finally, Joel Rosario on Lagainos moves out of the way, basically, so he can get over, but it was too late. He ran on and got third. So it wasn't meant to be that day for Informed Patriot. But Mr. Joel Rosario gets a chance to make it up to this horse because he is going to be the jockey riding him this weekend. Steve Asmussen should have, with Steve Asmussen in the Silks, should have him positioned for a chance to win this race, I think, from the outside post. And actually, when I get to my analysis here, you'll know why. You have to give a slight knock to Stronghold's effort in the Los Alamitos Futurity, because that loss to Winstock, and then Winstock turned around in his next effort and completely flopped in the Southwest Stakes. The Smarty Jones was a much stronger field. Not only is it producing Catching Freedom, who's one of the top contenders in this weekend's Risen Star, who won that race, but it was also Mystic Dan and Just Steel, who went 1-2 in that same Southwest Stakes. So the turnaround, exiting key race, or whatever you want to call it. So that is how I see it. I'm going to give the edge. I'm going to give the edge to Informed Patriot on this, just because of that effort and who he was versus and how those horses went on in their next prep races. But I do believe Stronghold is going to be right there. But then you can see the rest of the other ones that I would include underneath that. So you could put those two on top of an exacta and wheel them with the rest of those horses, and you might be able to get a decent payoff. But both Stronghold and Informed Patriot are probably going to take most of the money at the window. So it is what it is. Take it or leave it. But that's going to do it for this one. Best of luck this weekend. Stay tuned, because I'm doing the Sunland Oaks up next. So thanks for saddling up. We'll see you in a minute.